What's Santa's favourite pizza? One that's deep pan, crisp and even. Hello and welcome to Big Friendly Grub, and bloody hell, it's Christmas again. It feels like only yesterday that I was doing Christmas videos for last year. But no, it is another year and it's been a weird year. It's 2020. Who knows what Christmas will be like this year? It's going to be such a weird one. But let's make the most of it. Let's try and make it a great Christmas anyway, despite this hellish year making things difficult for all of us. So it's got to that time of year where all the big restaurants and things like that have started releasing their Christmas menus. In fact, they've probably been out since the beginning of December. KFC, for example, have released a burger where you have to pour some gravy over, but apart from that, there's not really anything Christmassy about it. McDonald's has released like a double Big Mac. What's Christmassy about whacking in another couple of beef patties? Absolutely nothing. But there is one place that's made a little bit of an effort. Greggs has released their Festive Bake, which is, let me refer to ye olde Google. The Greggs Festive Bake has pieces of chicken breast, sage and onion stuffing and sweet cured bacon in a creamy sage and cranberry sauce, all of which is encased in a golden puff pastry with a crunchy crumb topping. Now that sounds more Christmassy. So I thought, let's try and recreate a Greggs Festive Bake. Now I have a confession to make. I've never had anything from Greggs at all, not even a sausage roll. So I will be doing my interpretation of a Greggs Festive Bake, but it sounds like a really great thing. And I thought, what better to do than make our own sage and onion stuffing as well, which we will also be able to use anytime we want. We could use it with our Christmas dinner if we want to. So I'm going to make a Greggs Festive Bake. Let's try and recreate it and see how great we can make it. Right, the first thing we want to do is make our very own sage and onion stuffing from scratch. We could use a packet one if you want to make life easier, but I want to try and do this all from scratch. So we're going to make our very own sage and onion stuffing. And I'm going to start off with one large onion. It is a very large onion as well. And I'm going to chop off the top and then cut it in half. I'm going to take off that outer layer because onions are like ogres. They have layers. Then I'm going to try and dice this as fine as possible, so I'm going to cut straight down the middle vertically, or is it horizontally? Either way, through the middle that way, and then I'm going to slice down as thinly as I possibly can, being careful with my fingers, and then dice this very, very, very finely. Then while I'm here, I'm going to take a nice bunch of fresh sage, cut off the stalks, and then just scrunch it all up and chop this as fine as I possibly can as well. There we go, that should be a nice amount of sage. To be honest, you could vary this depending on your taste, but I think that would be a really good amount. Right, I've got a pan over a medium heat and I'm going in with a good glug of oil and a little bit of butter. Then when that starts to sizzle, I'm going in with my onions. And then I'm just going to let those cook and soften in that oil and butter for a good 10 minutes, I'd say. Right, these have had a good 10 minutes just softening in that oil and butter, and they're looking nice and soft and translucent, and they smell great. So I'm going to get in here with some flavour. Got to go in with some grinds of salt, some peps, but I'm going to jazz things up a bit with a bit of cloves and a little bit of fresh nutmeg grated in. Then of course we want to go in with our fresh sage. I'm going to mix that all through, then I'm just going to let those cook through for about 5 more minutes. Right, those have had a good 5 minutes to cook and everything smells amazing. So I'm just going to leave that to cool for 5 minutes before I mix it in to my stuffing mix. After 5 minutes of cooling, I'm going to pop in my onions and sage into a bowl. Then I'm going to pop in 200 grams worth of breadcrumbs. You could buy these, but these are actually from a failed tiger bread that I made and left in the oven for too long. It wasn't good to use for eating, but it was perfectly good to blitz up into breadcrumbs, and I didn't want to waste it. So these are just that, or you could use stale bread, or just buy some breadcrumbs from the shop. Then I'm going in with one large beaten egg to bind that all together. I'm going in with a tablespoon's worth of milk as well. And I'm just going to transfer this into a baking dish greased with some butter. Press that down with my hands, make sure it's all compact. Then I'm popping that into the oven at 190 degrees C for about 20 to 25 minutes. Right, after 20 minutes, our stuffing has baked. That is lovely. Now obviously if you were using this for a Christmas dinner, you could shape it into balls and bake it like that, but this is going to go into our Greg's Festive bake, so I have baked it like this. So I'm going to leave that to cool down for a bit before I start to assemble the rest of the festive bake. While our stuffing cools over there, I'm going to make our creamy sage and cranberry sauce. Now it doesn't say what's in it, so I'm going to use the basis of a white sauce for our creamy sage and cranberry sauce. So I'm going in with 50 grams worth of butter. Go melt that down. Right, that butter is bubbling, so I'm going to add in 50 grams of plain flour and mix that in. We'll cook out that flour so we don't have that horrible raw flour taste. Right, that flour's had a couple of minutes to cook out, so I'm going to start adding in 300 millilitres of milk, a bit at a time, just to get that evenly mixed. We don't want any lumps. Right, I did want this to be a thicker sauce, but that's going to be too thick, so I'm going to just keep adding in milk until I'm happy. I reckon I might need 500 mils. There we go. I'm actually happy with that thickness. That's probably more like 400 millilitres of milk, I would say. So it's like a nice thick custardy mixture, because I want to coat all our mixture in that sauce. I don't want it to be runny. And then I'm going to add in a tablespoon's worth of cranberry sauce. Actually no, let's go for 2 tablespoons. Let's give that a quick taste. Just want to check the cranberry levels. Actually, that could stand for an extra tablespoon. Woo! There we go, that looks good. Now I'm going to go in with some fresh sage leaves, which I've gone for 5, and just chop them up roughly. And I'm also going to throw in a handful of dried cranberries as well, and that's the doorbell. Hooray! It's the postman. Right, let's stir those in. There we go. Look at that lovely colour of it now. Right, I'm going to pop that to one side now, and we can get on with constructing the rest of our Greg's Festive bake. Right, now that the guy with the leaf blower has buggered off from outside, because that's all I could hear, I can now get on with the filling. So I've got 2 chicken breasts here, some nice sized ones as well. So I'm going to dice these up nice and small. Oh good, now the street cleaner's here. Oh, why won't everyone be quiet today? Christmas cheer, Matthew, Christmas cheer. Deck the halls with skulls of your enemies. Wait, no. Calm. That chicken is diced up nice and small. But we still want some good sized chunks that we can bite into. And I've got some nice rashers of bacon here. This is Wiltshire Cure bacon, because I couldn't find any sweet cure bacon, so this will have to do. So I've gone for 4 rashers, because I reckon we can make 4 festive bakes out of this, so that's like 1 rasher per bake. Right, some nicely chopped bacon as well, that's going in with our chicken. Right, I've got about half of my stuffing here, which I'm just going to chop up into chunks as well. Nice chunks, so we can get a nice bite of stuffing in our bake. Right, now I'm just going to cook my bacon and chicken in a pan of oil just for a couple of minutes, just to get some colour onto it. There we go, just a couple of minutes in the pan has got some colour onto that chicken and bacon, and I'm just going to use a slotted spoon to get that into the bowl, because I don't want any of that extra watery stuff there. It's not juices really, it's just kind of the water you sometimes get out of bacon. I'm going to pop my stuffing in with my chicken and bacon, then I'm going to add some of my creamy cranberry and sage sauce, enough to hopefully just coat everything. I might not use it all, I can always save some for something else. Probably a good 4 or 5 tablespoons worth there. Let's see how that coats everything. There we go, that looks like a nice amount. Guess who forgot to turn the camera on for these next steps? Me! Ho ho ho. Thankfully they're not complicated. So I had 2 sheets of pre-rolled puff pastry. I laid one onto a baking sheet, then I divided my mixture up onto that into 3 even portions with a space in between. I then brushed around the edges with some egg wash and in between, and then I laid over another sheet of pre-rolled puff pastry over the top. I pressed down in between to create divides between the pastry, and then I pressed down along the edges to seal everything in. Then I cut down in between to create 3 roughly even sized festive bakes. I used a pastry cutter for that nice crimped edges, but you could just as easily use a knife. I also went around the edges just to create a nice crimped edge. And that brings us up to speed. I'm sorry about that. Unfortunately, I think I was put off by the fact that there's so much noise outside, I forgot to turn the camera on again. But those are some simple steps for constructing the festive bake. You're just using pre-rolled puff pastry and that makes it super simple. You could make your own puff pastry if you're feeling ambitious, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with store-bought pastry. It is perfect every time. Now, to finish these off, we need a crunchy crumb top. Now, they weren't specific about what that crunchy crumb top is, but I'm going to go with some more breadcrumbs. I've got 3 tablespoons here, and then I'm going to add in a teaspoon of onion granules, and then a teaspoon of dried sage, because sage and onion is a theme throughout this festive bake. So let's mix that in well, and I'm just going to sprinkle some of this over the top of our festive bakes. Then these are going into the oven at 200 degrees C for about 20 to 25 minutes until they're nice and golden. Oh, look at that. That looks amazing. It smells amazing as well. You can smell that sage and onion on the top of that. That smells incredible. It's come out really well. Obviously, I haven't tried anything from Greg's, but be honest, I like the sound of these festive bakes so much, I just had to kind of create my own version. And I think it looks the part. I mean, it looks like a pimped up version. It's puffed up so nicely, but I've got to cut into it to see how this has turned out. So I'm going to do this here. Maybe it's not the best place to do it. Hopefully I won't drop it, but it's so big, it needs cutting in half. Hopefully the filling has turned out nicely. Look at that. That is a lovely cross section. That is really nice. That looks so good. Look at that. You've got the chicken there, you've got some bacon, you've got the stuffing, you've got that sauce. Right, I've chopped that in half again. You can see it's piping hot still. It's not long come out the oven. I think the bottom is quite nice and crisp as well. It's not a soggy bottom, so I'm going to give this a go. Oh, it's super hot, probably going to burn my face off, but it's going to be worth it. Oh, that is so nice. That is super nice. Oh, that is really good. You get your chicken, you get that bacon for sure, but you get like the sage and that beautiful buttery pastry. You get a bit of cranberry, you get a bit of everything. That is so nice. That is immense. If the Greg's Festive Bakes are half as good as that, then they're going to be great, and I can see why they'd be popular. But if you're going to make up a pimped up version, I'd definitely give this a go. It's been a bit of a stressful one thanks to all the noise and me forgetting to turn the camera on, but I'm super happy with that result. So yeah, Greg's Festive Bake, if you want to try your own, give this a go. So that was the first video for this year's Big Friendly Grub Christmas series. What's going to be next? Well, you'll have to stick around to find out, but I'm very excited for the next video. It's going to be ambitious, but hopefully it'll be great, and hopefully I'll remember to turn the camera up. But I hope you enjoyed this video, I hope you found it useful, I hope you give it a go, because it is worth it. That is so tasty, it really is. I'm going to go off and enjoy this now because it's lunchtime, and quite frankly, I've earned it. And I will see you next time. And if you enjoyed the video, like it, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and otherwise I will see you next time on Big Friendly Grub. Take care. Bye.